A Mirage 2000, France's most advanced fighter jet, managed to hide stealthily beneath an Airbus A340, using this trick to completely vanish from radar detection. This immediately raised red flags at the radar control station, prompting the officer in charge to call for military assistance. Captain Antonic received the order and quickly took off in his Shark 21 jet, heading straight to the area where the Mirage 2000 had disappeared from radar. His mission: investigate the situation and find out what was really going on. But when he reached the designated location, the Mirage 2000 was nowhere to be seen. All he found was an ordinary Airbus A340, as if the Mirage had vanished like a ghost. At that moment, Antonic noticed an extra contrail behind the passenger jet. Normally, there should only be 4. That odd 5th trail raised suspicion. Antonic dove his aircraft to get a better view from below. As the 2 Shark jets accelerated and closed in, their suspicion was confirmed. There it was, the Mirage 2000 tucked under the belly of the A340. The 2 Shark fighters quickly flanked the hidden aircraft, boxing it in. Shark 22 attempted to contact the Mirage pilot over radio, asking what mission he was on, but the pilot offered no response. Shark 22 then signaled by waggling his wings, a universal gesture instructing the Mirage to follow them back to base. Instead, the Mirage pilot responded with outright defiance. In the next second, he hit the throttle and broke formation. The high-speed chase had officially begun. The Mirage 2000 pulled a steep climb, cutting through the clouds and using them as cover to loop around undetected. Suddenly, the tables turned. The Mirage now had the upper hand and was locked in behind Shark 21, ready to strike. Antonic quickly adjusted his flight position, maneuvering behind the Mirage to trap it between the 2 Shark jets. Antonic requested clearance from HQ to issue a warning or take action, but his request was denied. He was told only to keep the Mirage under control, but the Mirage wasn't playing games. It clearly intended to shoot down Shark 22. The situation quickly escalated. Shark 22 could feel the threat of death closing in. His systems even confirmed a missile lock from the Mirage 2000. In desperation, Shark 22 launched multiple flares to break the lock, visibly shaken by the overwhelming pressure. Antonic again radioed the tower, requesting permission to open fire. This time, the response was even more severe. His mission was officially canceled, with no room for negotiation. But Antonic could see that his teammate was on the brink of being shot down, potentially lost at sea. Unable to take it any longer, Antonic shut off his radio connection to HQ. Then he saw it. The Mirage 2000 had launched a missile. Without hesitation, Antonic opened fire and destroyed the Mirage, saving his teammate and ensuring Shark 21 made it back safely. The battle they had just been through was intense, but thankfully ended without disaster. However, as soon as they landed back at Orange County Air Force Base, they were immediately summoned to the General's office. And it wasn't just the General waiting. Officials from the Air Defense Command and the Ministry of the Interior were already there, having waited for quite some time. They grilled Antonic about the situation. If the control tower had ordered the mission cancelled, why did he still open fire on the Mirage 2000? Antonic claimed that the other side fired first, and he responded in that split second. But the Air Defense Command wasn't interested in explanations. Instead, they confiscated their flight records for investigation. Before the 2 of them could make sense of what was happening, they were called into the office of the Air Defense Chief of Staff. This time, it was clear they were in serious trouble. They had kicked a hornet's nest. 2 men in black, both with mysterious identities, showed up. One was Skesh, the officer in charge of special missions, and the other was Kost, a special envoy from the Ministry of the Interior. From their mouths, the truth came out. The Mirage 2000 that Antonic had shot down was actually part of a classified operation. After the events of September 11th, the French military began to consider a terrifying scenario. What if a hijacked aircraft wasn't a commercial airliner but a fighter jet? How would they respond in that case? Because of this, the highest level of authorization was given to Sketch to conduct defensive and escape response simulations within acceptable risk levels. If the Mirage 2000 successfully made it out of French airspace, it would mean that terrorists could potentially do the same. The entire operation was designed to test the weaknesses of the French Air Force, so they could reinforce those vulnerabilities and prevent such events from happening in reality. That's why the control tower had ordered Antonic to stand down, but he still shot down the pilot carrying out the mission. Antonic, for his part, was still baffled. He was sure the Mirage fired first. Sketch immediately dismissed that explanation, saying the test pilot had the right to abort the mission at any moment. Since neither side could agree, the truth would have to wait until the black box data was fully analyzed. Before the 2 pilots could wrap their heads around any of this, they were summoned back to the airbase. From now on, they were banned from overseas missions and reassigned to train cadets locally, which essentially meant they were grounded. Their new trainee was Captain Cass, who was considered one of the top-tier pilots. She wasn't there because of a lack of skill. She had come to refine her flying technique even further. At the same time, deep within a secret French underground military base, footage transmitted from a fighter jet revealed that it was Anthony who seized the Mirage 2000's flight path and opened fire. Because of this, Sketch convened a meeting with top-ranking officials. The CEO of Dassault, the company that manufactures the Mirage 2000, the largest arms dealer in the Middle East, and a senior general from the Australian Air Force. Their agenda was straightforward: how to boost sales of the Mirage 2000. The US military had been competing with them fiercely in the arms market, so both sides agreed to settle it with a true test of strength. A Mirage 2000 would take off from a French airbase, while an American F-16 would launch from a base in southern Spain. Their target? A military base on the easternmost edge of Africa. Whichever jet arrived first would be declared the winner. This challenge would inevitably require flying through hostile airspace, and each fighter jet would need 2 pilots on board. Sketch already had backup candidates in mind: Anthony and his co-pilot, who had both been grounded. At that moment, Anthony was training Captain Cass. Though Cass was an exceptional pilot, she still fell short compared to Anthony. Before she even realized what was happening, Anthony had maneuvered behind her, meaning she had been shot down in the simulation. After the training session, Cass sought out Anthony to learn how to evade tailing enemies. Anthony didn't hold back and gave her hands-on, step-by-step instruction. As the training continued, their relationship slowly began to change. Meanwhile, the secret base reanalyzed the video footage involving Anthony. This time, frame by frame, they discovered sparks appearing on the right wing of the Mirage 2000, which proved that before Anthony opened fire, the Mirage 2000 had already launched a missile intending to shoot down the Shark 22 fighter. The time between both jets firing was just 0.25 seconds. The only way to prevent the Shark 22 from being taken down was for Anthony to fire back, with solid evidence proving Anthony acted in self-defense. Sketch, prioritizing the Mirage 2000 sales, still planned to falsify the video by removing the part showing the Mirage 2000 launching its missile. Soon, a military tribunal was held to prosecute Anthony. The presiding judge didn't bother asking for the full story and went straight to blaming Anthony for firing on and destroying another aircraft. Using the doctored footage as evidence, Anthony immediately realized the video had been tampered with. Someone had deliberately edited out the Mirage 2000's missile launch. He suspected there was even an attempt to steal the armed fighter jet itself. Coast, a special investigator from the Ministry of the Interior, agreed with Anthony and requested time to investigate. However, the tribunal had already made up its mind. Anthony had disobeyed orders, failed to abort the interception, and was responsible for downing both the Mirage 2000 and its pilot. As a result, Anthony was dishonorably discharged from the French Air Force on the spot. But before the final ruling, they officially reinstated his civilian status. Though Anthony was unwilling to accept it, he had no other choice. Upon hearing what happened, Anthony's Shark 22 teammate also chose to resign from the French Air Force in solidarity. Tough times revealed true brotherhood, but that outcome didn't last long. Special Mission Commander Sketch soon called both men back for a covert government operation. If they could complete the mission successfully, their positions would be reinstated. Joining them were Captain Cass and her co-pilot. As the saying goes, when men and women team up, the job gets done with half the effort. 2 fully loaded Mirage 2000 fighter jets took off with a high-stakes mission. Not only would they have to fly through hostile airspace, but they also couldn't expect any support. The goal was to reach their destination ahead of schedule. The pilots, showcasing exceptional flying skills, weaved through mountains and rivers, flying as low as possible to evade enemy radar detection. But this tactic couldn't last forever. Flying at such low altitude meant higher fuel consumption. Fortunately, there was an abandoned military base ahead, where the French military had arranged for a refueling crew. As the 3 Mirage 2000 slowly touched down, something felt off. Several pickup trucks loaded with heavily armed men aggressively approached the jets. Things escalated quickly. The moment the pilots stepped out of their aircraft, they were held at gunpoint by terrorists. It was clearly a trap. Handing over 3 Mirage 2000s without a fight was an almost unthinkable move, hinting that something much deeper was going on. When Anthony and the others tried to resist, they were brutally beaten by armed militants. Completely unarmed, they had no chance to fight back. One pilot, Cass, was taken away by the terrorists, and another was shot and killed on the spot. Of the 4 pilots who landed, only Anthony and one teammate were still alive. Back at the control tower, officials received the alarming news. The military base originally set up for refueling had gone completely dark. Someone had obviously leaked the mission. Meanwhile, the terrorists were eager to show off. They dismantled one of the Mirage 2000 and hauled it away, while forcing one of the pilots to accompany Anthony for a crash course in flying. Anthony, however, didn't hold back. Using bold and unexpected maneuvers, he pushed the jet to its limits. On the ground, his teammate covered his ears, sensing what Anthony was about to do. Sure enough, Anthony looped back at supersonic speed and flew low over the base. The sonic boom instantly ruptured the eardrums of every terrorist on the base. Before they could recover, Anthony had landed back on the ground. The terrorist who was with him got the worst of it. Anthony ejected him right then and there. With the altitude too low for a parachute to deploy properly, the terrorist plummeted straight to the ground. Just as other terrorists were rushing out of the buildings, it was already too late. Anthony reunited with his teammate, and together they took off in their fully armed Mirage 2000S. But before leaving, to vent their deep-seated anger, they turned back once more.
Get the fucking truck out of here!
Explosions roared through the air as a firestorm consumed the entire base. Not a single terrorist survived. At that moment, Anthony and his teammate finally allowed themselves a rare smile, but they had no idea that the Mirage 2000 that was hauled away would pose an even greater threat later on. Worse still, Cass, who had been dragged away, remained missing. The French Air Force couldn't find a trace of him. It was now clear this operation had been premeditated all along.